A very good afternoon. Welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Martin Satyanesan. We are coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. First up, headlines. Colombo Investigation Division launches an investigation into the alleged voice recordings of MP Ranjan Ramanayake. Overseas travel ban imposed on Shani Abesekara. Death toll following Passar accident rises to 9. No survivors after Ukrainian airliner crashes near Iran's capital, Tehran. Federal Aviation Administration bars US pilots and carriers from flying in the areas of Iraqi, Iranian and some Persian Gulf airspace. In a developing story, according to the US Department of Defense, bases housing US troops in Iraq have been hit by more than a dozen ballistic missiles. Iranian state television said 80 people were killed in the missile attacks.
Country. His comments came in the wake of a letter which the US military said had been sent in error to Iraq's Prime Minister, apparently agreeing to a request by Iraqi MPs to pull troops out. The US has around 5,000 troops in Iraq. The UK Foreign Office told foreign media that they are urgently working to establish the facts on the ground. The statement added, and I quote, "Our first priority is the security of British personnel," unquote. Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said the UK has put the Royal Navy and military helicopters on standby amid rising tensions in the Middle East. As tension increases, governments elsewhere in the world are calling for a return to diplomacy and considering plans to withdraw their citizens. Japan urged governments to do their utmost to help ease tensions following the missile strikes, with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe expected to call off a visit this weekend to Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Oman. Following the attacks, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said all his country's troops and diplomatic staff in Iraq were safe. Prime Minister Morrison said he had discussed the situation between the US and Iran with Trump yesterday during a call about the bushfires raging in Australia. The Philippines has ordered its citizens to leave Iraq in the wake of the strikes by Iran. India has advised its nationals to avoid all non-essential travel to Iraq until further notice. Those already in the country have been told to be alert and avoid travelling around the country. New Zealand's acting Prime Minister Winston Peters expressed concern over the escalation in hostilities between Iran and the US. Meanwhile, the US Federal Aviation Administration said it would ban US carriers from operating in the airspace over Iraq, Iran, the Gulf of Oman and the waters between Iran and Saudi Arabia. The FAA said it issued the airspace ban, and I quote, "due to the heightened military activities and increased political tensions in the Middle East, which present a risk to US civil aviation operations."
In another tragic story, a Ukrainian airliner with 180 passengers and crew on board has crashed near Tehran's Imam Khomeini Airport in Iran today. Iran's state television said all those on board the airliner were killed.
According to Iranian media, the Boeing 737-800 jet crashed near Paran, a suburb southwest of capital Tehran, shortly after takeoff. Iran's Red Crescent earlier said there was no chance of finding survivors. According to Flight Radar 24 flight tracker, the Ukrainian international airline flight 752 was scheduled to take off at 5:15 a.m. Tehran time, heading to Borispil International Airport in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. The actual departure time was delayed for almost an hour at 6:12 a.m. In a statement, Boeing said that it was aware of the media reports of the incident and that it is gathering more information.
In your local news, due to the prevailing unsettled situation in the Persian Gulf region, Sri Lankan Airlines altered the routes of its Colombo to London and London to Colombo flights to avoid the airspace of Iran and Iraq with immediate effect as a precautionary measure. Sri Lankan Airlines says it's closely monitoring the situation and is in contact with relevant national and international authorities with the safety of its passengers and crew members of being paramount importance. Moving on to more local news, the Colombo Crimes Division launched an investigation into the telephone calls made by MP Ranjan Ramanayake with several other individuals. A senior ranked officer who wished not to be named said the content recovered from the CDs discovered at the Madhivila residence of MP Ramanayake, as well as the voice recordings currently on circulation on social media and the media, would be subject to investigation. The Colombo Crimes Division went on to note reports would be called from the respective service providers in relation to the phone calls in questions. The investigations is taking place on the instructions of the Acting Inspector General of Police. Meanwhile, the United National Party today said it would launch a special inquiry to ascertain if MP Ranjan Ramanayake committed an act in the breach of discipline. UNP General Secretary Akhil Biraj Karyavasam said necessary onward action would be taken following the inquiry. Meanwhile, the Nugegoda Magistrate Court today issued a travel ban on the ex-CID Director SSP Shania Basic. Former Governor Asad Saleh had arrived at the Presidential Commission's police unit at 9 this morning to give a statement. A source at the Presidential Commission said the former governor would provide the statement to police unit attached to it. In addition, Venerable Akmi Menadayaratna Thero and MP Vijay Rajapaksa arrived at the Presidential Commission to provide statements. 47 people have provided evidence at the Presidential Commission thus far, while statements were recorded from 317 people.
Let's now take a look at some news from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
Global sentiment hit Sri Lankan market by opening negatively. ASI broke the 6,000 resistance to drop down to 5,958 with 310 million turnover by 10:45 am. Market overreacted as soon as it started by local investors when bargain hunters chipped in to consolidate. The exchange rate at midday stood as follows. US dollars was buying at 179 rupees and 38 cents and was selling at 183 rupees and 05 cents. Sterling pounds was buying at 235 rupees and 16 cents and was selling at 242 rupees and 45 cents. Japanese yen was buying at 1 rupee and 64 cents while it was selling at 1 rupees and 70 cents.
Another individual who was receiving treatment at the Badulla hospital following the accident that occurred at the 6th mile post along the Badulla-Passara road has died.
The hospital authorities said a 65-year-old individual who was receiving treatment at the intensive care unit at the hospital has died this morning. He was a resident of Mahadova in Madolsima. Another 40 individuals who sustained injuries are still receiving treatment at the Badulla hospital. The injured also includes the driver and the conductor of the bus.
A suspect was arrested for the possession of a stock of narcotics pills intended to be sold to school children and youth.
Based on a tip-off received to the Variapallu police, the suspect was arrested along with 13,900 narcotics pills, which were concealed at a coconut plantation belonging to an owner of a pharmacy. Police said the value of the narcotic pills was estimated to be 400,000 rupees. Further investigations are underway on the owner of the pharmacy, while police noted the substance could not be sold without due prescriptions.
From that, we conclude lunchtime news on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Martin Satyanesan. Your latest news update will come your way at 1:55. Take care.